Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today I want to discuss something that I brought up in a short not too long ago that I thought it might be a good idea to do a little bit more detail on. I do enjoy brushing finishes on guitars these days. I posted a short where I talked about how, well, if you don't have a spray booth or if you don't have a place where you can use aerosol cans, that it's just as acceptable to go ahead and get some, brush on clear polyurethane and just use some disposable brushes to apply it. And I had one person in the comments said, boy, that sounds like that could be, a real mess or not turn out very well. And I've had nothing but success doing this, so I thought that I would go ahead and I'll just do a brief demonstration on the back of this guitar that I'm working on currently. It's ready for its second coat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and apply it and talk through what I'm doing as I do it and what I'm watching out for. This is a great alternative for people who just don't have a place to be able to spray finishes. I also always ran into, not in every case, but all too often it would be like a failure in equipment or a failure in an aerosol spray can as far as the nozzle, and just having, like either splatter or ending up with runs, unintentionally. It's an art to be able to spray, and most people don't have enough projects under their belt or an area to spray freely without, without basically breaking the law, because you should have proper ventilation and proper filtration if you are going to be spraying finishes. So I think that most people might find this an interesting alternative. And also, brushing on polyurethane finishes and brushing on color, these are things that furniture makers have been doing for a very long time. It is totally how you would refinish furniture. And I used to do furniture restoration and repair, and that's kind of what led me down this path. I'm like, well, if I'm getting glassy, smooth finishes on a dresser, why can't I do the same thing on a guitar? So that was kind of where this all began for me. So, in this case, I have done the color of this guitar, which is right here. The color I did with unicorn spit once again. I'm really happy with it. It's so easy to work with. It's water soluble. You want to get a pigment on a guitar, it is hard to beat. It doesn't work in every case. This finish is not very clear. I wanted to make it very much more of a solid color finish than the orange caster that I did. So this is almost a perfect solid color. It does show a tiny bit of grain through, but I kind of like that. And I've got one coat of poly on right now, and I'm getting ready to apply the second. The first coat I kind of call my sealer coat. I just go very thin. I go very thin with every layer, but particularly thin on the first one just to seal everything up so that the color is fully covered. All right, I'm going to crack open my jar here. This is just Minwax. This is oil-based. So one part of that comment was, oh, you're using a little foam brush. That's not a very good way to apply a finish. This is an oil-based finish. I would have to clean my brush. I basically have to sacrifice a brush to this finish and clean it, using mineral spirits or whatever. And what I find is using these little disposable brushes, if you're careful and you go nice and smooth, and watch for the little air, you're going to get little bubbles and stuff, but if you just apply it very, very lightly and take your time to really go over it and smooth it out, you'll end up with no bubbling or weirdness. And these little brushes cost nothing, and you just toss them in the trash when you're done applying a coat. Grab another one for your next coat, and there you go. You got a fresh brush every time too, which is nice. You do want to pay attention to these and make sure there's no particulate or dust or anything in them. I keep them sealed up so that when I pull them out, they're ready to go. All right, I'm going to apply finish to the back of the guitar now, and then that'll be it. Basically, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the guitar off camera because it's going to take a little while, and I'll be doing that over there on my other vise. But just for the purposes of demonstration, I will go ahead and apply some finish now on the back of this guitar. I'm just putting the tip of this foam brush into my poly and then just very lightly coating. And you just want to pay attention to it, make sure it's nice and even and very thin. You don't want to slop it on, because if you slop it on, you'll end up with thick spots, and when you go to do your finish sanding and prepare the body for buffing, you'll have these nasty areas, and you don't want to have those. You don't want to have nasty areas that you have to really sand out, because when you go crazy with the sanding, you run into the possibility of going into your color. So I'm just applying it very thin, very light, all going in the same direction, being very mindful of my brush strokes, and just making sure I don't have stuff slopping over the edge, because you can get runs with this the same as you do with spray if you're not careful. And you notice I have the guitar mounted onto a stick here, and what I do with that piece of wood after I'm done applying the poly all over the guitar, what I'll do is I'll hold that in my hand and I'll spin the guitar around in my hand and I'll look for runs, and I'll go back and hit them with my brush. Another nice thing about brushing on finish is that you have a lot of control over your finish. You can go back, it takes a little while for it to dry, so if you have a mistake or a run, it's very easy to correct on the fly. Just right in the moment, you just go, oh, okay. And that's impossible with sprays. Because if you try to compensate with spray, you end up with more spray, and then you end up with more mistakes. And, once you build up enough coats of this polyurethane, you're in the same place you would be anyway. You just brush it all on, you get your thickness, desired thickness level, and then you would go through and start with probably like a 400 grit sandpaper, depending on how your finish is looking thus far. Maybe going to 300 or maybe going up to 600, and you do your finish sand on it. Then you start going through all the wet sanding, and then you go to buffing. And it's just the same process. It's just a matter of using a different method of application. And there we go. I still have a little bit here on the upper horn to go. I've barely used any polyurethane at this point, and I'm just putting it on super smooth and super thin, and just really paying attention to what I'm doing. And it's looking really good. All right, well, there we go. The back is done. I'm now going to move over to my other vise, which is a little bit beefier, easier for me to maneuver around, and I'm going to start flipping the body. I'll do a side, then I'll do the back, and I'll do another side, and then I'll do the front. All right, well, if you've watched this video up to this point, I would like it if you'd subscribe. Really appreciate it. Likes are also greatly appreciated. Share it with others, and leave a comment. Do you think this is not the proper way to do it, or an improper way to finish a guitar? Let me know what you think. All right, you take care, and we'll see you next time.